My wife recently told me she wants my permission to sleep with someone she knows from work. She even offered that if I agreed, I could sleep with any woman I chose. We've been married a little over a year, and up until now, things have been good. Normal disagreements here and there, but nothing serious. We'd never discussed open relationships or sharing each other before. It started when she suddenly asked me if I'd sleep with another woman if I had a free pass. I told her no, that she was all I wanted and more than enough for me. To my surprise, she rolled her eyes and seemed annoyed, which I thought was strange because I expected her to feel happy about my answer. She said, "Really? Not with anyone? That's kind of crap." I stood my ground. That's when she admitted that she would take a free pass. After some pressing, she revealed there's a coworker she would hook up with. I asked if she had talked to him about it, or if anything physical had happened. She said no, but something about it made me suspicious, so I looked through her phone. In her photos, I found nude pictures I'd never seen before, ones she hadn't sent to me. When I confronted her, she admitted she'd been sending them to that coworker and that they'd been sexting. Now that it was out in the open, she asked for my permission to meet him in person. She promised it would only be a few times, strictly physical and without any emotional involvement. She said I could still have my own free pass. I was stunned. She had never shown much interest in other men before, and I thought she was shy around people. But she told me she finds him extremely attractive and believes she'll never get a chance like this again. She even mentioned that he's more well-endowed than anyone she's been with. She insisted it's purely physical since she doesn't even like his personality, and claimed it's something she'd regret if she didn't do it. She assured me she loves me, enjoys being with me in bed, and would never do it again afterward. She just wants the new experience. I told her from the start I don't want anyone else and don't want a free pass, but she keeps pushing. She says she would feel guilty doing it if I didn't take advantage of the same offer. She's even offered to ask her friends if they'd sleep with me or to help me find someone else. I told her I'd need time to think. I truly love her, and I believe she loves me too, so ending things would be incredibly hard. Later, I had a serious talk with her about the future of our marriage. I told her I wouldn't be using the free pass. She was frustrated and even upset, accusing me of being immature and petty. She said all the men she knows would jump at the chance, and she thought I was just trying to prove I was better than her. I explained that it wasn't about proving anything. I simply love her, and I love being with her. Even if the sex weren't great, I'd still want her to. My wife recently brought up something completely unexpected. She asked for my permission to sleep with a man she knows from work. She said it would only be fair because before we got married, I'd been with far more women than she had been with men, and she wanted to balance that experience. I asked her about this guy and how she knew so much about him, and after pressing her for over half an hour, she admitted they had already fooled around a little, though they hadn't gone all the way yet. When I asked if they had plans, she told me they were hoping to meet up that weekend, depending on how our conversation went. She insisted she'd feel bad about going through with it since I wasn't taking advantage of my free pass, but she still didn't want to cancel. I told her I'd at least want to meet him beforehand, and she agreed to bring him over sometime. She could tell I was upset, so she tried to reassure me, reminding me that we'd done cuckold roleplay before and suggesting I might even enjoy it. She offered to record it for me, in case it turned me on. I told her I was willing to see how it went, but made it clear that if I felt only upset afterward and not turned on at all, then I wouldn't agree to her seeing him again. She said she understood. That night, we ended up having great sex, and since then she'd been extra affectionate, making me breakfast and giving me a massage in the morning. I felt like she genuinely cared for me and wanted me to be okay with this. So we made an arrangement. If I didn't like how it went the first time, she'd end it. If she refused to end it, I'd get counseling and probably prepare for the worst. When she finally met up with him, she later told me they'd had a lot of sex and tried many different things. Afterward, I brought up boundaries, but she got defensive, saying I had no right to tell two consenting adults what they could or couldn't do in bed, even though I had already given her my blessing to see him. That bothered me. I then asked if I could join them next time, but she said she'd have to ask him. When she did, he refused, so I wasn't allowed to be there. The real breaking point came the following weekend. She left on Saturday morning, making me take pictures of her to send to him before she left, and didn't even kiss me goodbye. She originally said she'd be back that night, but she never came home. The next morning, she told me she decided to stay over without telling me. Then she casually mentioned that while she was there, the guy invited a friend over, and she ended up fooling around with both of them, again without asking me first. When I got upset, she laughed and told me to get over it because I was being unmanly. That was it for me. No one who truly cares about their spouse would say something like that or treat them this way. At that point, it was clear she no longer valued or respected me, and I couldn't take it anymore. I was completely blindsided. Up until just a couple of weeks ago, I never saw any indication that my wife could be like this. She had always been the most loving and caring person I had ever met. But when she met this other guy, it was as if a switch flipped inside her. She became someone I didn't recognize, and I couldn't believe how quickly one person could change so drastically. I'm almost certain she's going to end up with him. She's spent the past few weekends with him and even talks about him openly in front of me. The other night, I told her that if she didn't start setting boundaries, I'd have no choice but to leave. She just laughed and said, "Okay," as if it meant nothing. That was the moment I quietly packed my bags and booked a room at a nearby hotel. I told my brother about everything, and he offered to let me stay with him for a while. I ended up spending the night at his place. She sent me a few messages that night and the following day, acting upset and confused about why I left, saying she missed me. The next day, I decided I needed to return to my house so I wouldn't risk losing it when things inevitably headed toward divorce. My brother came with me for support. When we got there, she tried to talk to me, but I ignored her and kept moving. She grabbed at me, trying to hold on, but my brother stepped in and told her he'd call the police if she didn't back off. She eventually left, and I haven't heard from her since. This whole situation has destroyed me. I only agreed to her idea because I wanted her to be happy, something I never wanted for myself, but I tried to convince myself to accept it for her sake. I never imagined she could be so manipulative or selfish. Before all this, I truly believed she was the most thoughtful, amazing person I had ever met. Now, my entire view of love and relationships has been shattered. I'm not sure what to do next, whether it's about handling my marriage right now or preparing for the future when I start dating again. I don't know how to tell our families and friends or how to even speak to her at this point. I'm struggling to cope. A week later, I was still staying at my brother's place. After talking to him and reading other people's advice, I decided to go back home to make sure I wouldn't lose the house during the divorce process. My brother came with me again. When we arrived, she tried to talk and grab me, but I ignored her completely. She got aggressive, hitting my chest until I finally pushed her away. My brother warned her that if she didn't stop, he'd call the police. She eventually left, and I didn't hear from her that night. The next day, she sent me a selfie of her and a new coworker without any message attached. I showed my brother, and he said she had to be mentally unwell to send something like that. I finally met with a divorce lawyer for a consultation. It went well. He explained what I needed to know and told me the photos and videos I had could help. The only challenge would be proving that I didn't truly agree to her actions, despite her manipulation. Later, my brother and I went to my parents to explain what was going on. They were shocked and almost didn't believe me until my brother backed up everything I said. They wanted to confront her, but I told them not to. I also debated whether to tell her parents, unsure if it was my place. Eventually, I decided it was the right thing to do, and I knew that if I didn't tell them myself, they'd likely hear it from someone else first. I figured she might twist the story and spread terrible lies about me, so I arranged to meet her parents at their place. I went alone, and after some small talk, I finally gathered the courage to explain what had been happening. Their expressions were priceless, pure shock and disgust. They told me they had never seen this side of their daughter before. To my surprise, they didn't blame me at all. They understood that I truly loved her and had tried to make her happy. Before I left, they hugged me and we were all in tears. They knew divorce was the last thing I wanted, but they accepted that I had no other choice now. That weekend, I mostly stayed home, talking to my attorney and hanging out with my brother. On Saturday night, I got a text from my wife saying she was coming over. I replied that she wasn't welcome, but she showed up about 20 minutes later anyway. At that point, I felt like I had no choice but to talk. She began by telling me her parents were furious with her and had mentioned divorce. I had hoped they wouldn't tell her that, as I hadn't planned on breaking the news in person. I was going to do it through my lawyer. She called my actions childish and said I wasn't a real man for speaking to her parents first. I told her I didn't want to speak to her anymore because of how manipulative she had been, and that I'd spoken to them first, so she couldn't lie and blame everything on me. She kept pressing me, asking if I was really filing for divorce. When I confirmed it, she broke down in uncontrollable sobs, staying silent for about 15 minutes. Then she started asking why I was doing this, and why I didn't warn her. I explained that she had treated me like I didn't matter and humiliated me with her coworker. She promised to stop if I took her back, but I told her I couldn't. Eventually, she left. The next morning, I woke to a flood of texts and missed calls, long messages and voicemails of her apologizing and saying how much she loved me. Listening to them hurt deeply, bringing back memories of how much I had loved her. I cried hard, but reminded myself of what she had done in the past few weeks. Since then, her friends have been messaging me, telling me to take her back, cursing at me, and accusing me of being wrong for talking to her parents. They claimed she now only has them to rely on. It's been overwhelming, but I can't believe her parents are actually on my side. I do feel a little bad for turning them against her, but I'm relieved to have their support. Her friends keep harassing me, but I haven't heard from her since those last texts. I assume she's staying with her coworker or friends, since her parents are upset with her. Honestly, I'm surprised at how strongly I've been able to stand my ground. This weekend proved to me that I do have the strength to walk away from her. Thank you all for your support. I'll try to keep you updated if anything major happens.